and welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about Magic the Gathering that's sometimes wrong, but fun to talk about. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Shauna.
And we are super excited that we have a couple new commander decks come out for Midnight Hunt that we are doing some deep dives for you. So today we're going to tell you a little bit about this deck, what it's meant to do. We're going to go through all the cards in the deck and tell you how they're supposed to synergize together. Maybe tell you a little bit about the breakdown. And if you make it to the end or want to skip to the end, whatever, you can see some tweaks that we have to maybe just make this deck a little bit better or synergize. So, Shauna, why don't you tell us a little bit about what this deck is supposed to do? Who's our commander?
Sure, I would love to. So deck is called Undead Unleashed, and it is the commander is Wilhelt the Rot Cleaver. He's got this scary looking mystical axe in his hand, cleaver or something in his hand. We have the Demir colors, blue and black. 2 in blue and a black. It's a 3/3 zombie warrior that whenever another zombie you control dies, if it didn't have decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with decayed. And at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a zombie. If you do, draw a card. So this deck is all about making lots and lots of zombies, using those for damaging, for card draw, for, in this case, for doing lots of crazy shenanigans and basically overrunning your opponent.
What is this decay thing? This is new.
Decay is new, yes. So it is, so that creature that has decay on it is not able to block. And when it does attack, you have to sacrifice it at the end step. So it just dies afterwards. But you could also just keep it there, doing nothing except counting towards zombie shenanigans, which you will see might be useful.
And I like that you don't have to sacrifice it till your end step because you can attack with it, maybe get some damage in, and then sacrifice it for a different spell or like for village rites or something like that as a creature because it's going to die at the end of the turn anyway.
Definitely.
Lots of options with that. Well, in this deck, in all our decks, we like to do a little bit of a breakdown as to the guts of this deck. Mana curve, color breakdown, and card types. So if we look at our mana curve, we can see this actually has a quite high mana curve. There's only 1 at 1, which is probably our soul ring. I don't remember. 8 at 2 mana cost, 13 at 3 mana cost. So those are a low mana cost. And then we start getting a little higher. We got 12 at 4, 11 at 5, and 15 at 6 plus, which is a little bit crazy for the mana curve. So hopefully we have enough ramp to get there. And a lot of those 6 plus cards are also cards that actually have X in the mana cost, which we like to put in the 6 plus because you're going to put more mana into them than just the 2. So it just doesn't make sense to count them in the 2 mana cost. As far as colors go, most of our deck is black with 33, and then we have 15 blue, 6 colorless, and 6 multicolor. And card types, most of our cards are creatures at 32. We have 13 instants and sorceries, 7 enchantments, 7 artifacts, and 1 planeswalker. So fairly balanced deck all around. But we also like to break these down for you based on a formula that we like to use. So Shauna, tell us a little bit about the formula.
So this formula Leslie found a long time ago, and if you want to watch the video that she made about that, go right ahead. But anyway, it is a formula that has been really, really successful for us in our commander decks that we build. Plus, it seems to be the build that Wizards follows for most, or the formula that Wizards follows for most of their commander decks that they build. So it basically breaks the deck down into the 15 or so ramp cards that get you your mana and get you going. 15 removal cards, so that could be mass removal, it could be targeted removal, could be artifact removal, enchantment removal, whatever. Card draw, about 13 of those. High impact cards are cards that are going to win you the game or just give you a crazy advantage. And then we also have, about 12 of those high impact cards. And then we also have other cards that could give you a win condition or just support the theme overall, or kind of flavor ones sometimes too. There's about 10 of those. So there's those. And then we've got about 34 lands in the formula. Generally, these pre built pre-con decks have a little bit more mana than that, but that's a good place to start when you're tweaking. And we'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
that.
And our formula is based kind of more on a mid-level, mid-range
Right.
deck,
Yes.
not your high-powered competitive deck. So just for those of you that are wanting to use that, that's what you're going to end up with if you use this formula.
Yeah.
So our first section is mana ramp, and for such a high mana curve on this, it doesn't have a lot of mana ramp. So we have the formula says let's have 15, and our deck has 7. The first one is Sky Diamond for 2. It is just, it enters the battlefield tapped, and then you can tap it for a blue. So it's just like an artifact that taps for blue.
Yeah. And then we have Arcane Signet, which is for 2 as well, but doesn't come in tapped. And then you can use it to add a mana of any color of your commander's color identity. So it's become a commander staple.
Mm-hmm. And Charcoal Diamond is the same as my other one. It is just a artifact that taps for black.
All right. And then Rooftop Storm is a strange little enchantment for 5 and a blue that says you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creature spells you cast.
Crazy.
Yes, folks, you read that correctly. You may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creature spells.
So once you get to 7, you play that, and suddenly you have a big board. It's hopefully if someone does a board wipe, you can just keep playing more zombies. It doesn't matter. Your zombies are going to keep going. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Talisman of Dominance is a 2 mana cost artifact. You can tap it for colorless, or you can pay life and tap it for blue or black.
And then, sure enough, we have a 1 mana cost Soul Ring.
I knew it.
Too. She was right. There you go.
And then Commander Sphere for 3 is 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. This one has the added benefit that you can sacrifice it later to draw a card. So it does also fit in the card draw category if we need it to, which is nice.
Very handy dandy. All right, so then the removal section seems to follow the formula pretty well. The formula says about 15, and the deck has about 13, according to what we could figure out. So the first one we have here for you is the Undead Alchemist for 3 and a blue. It's a 4/2 zombie. Probably play it for free. If a zombie you control would deal combat damage to a player, instead that player mills that many cards. I'm such a fan of mill, as many of you know. Not
no sarcasm there.
Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from their library, you get to exile that card and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So you're getting rid of their stuff and you're making stuff. Awesome. Awesome card.
And then Overseer of the Damned for 5 and 2 black. So this is one of those high power or high mana cost spells. You get a 5/5 flying demon, not a zombie, a demon, which is interesting. But when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature. So it comes in and destroys something. And then whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So it's a demon, but it creates a 2/2 black zombie whenever their stuff dies. So it's going to do some work for you. We put it in the removal section though, because ideally you're going to play it when you need to remove something first, and then just reap the benefits.
Yep. Fleshbag Marauder. Number 1, I have a hard time saying the name of this card, and I have a hard time looking at this card.
These flesh bags are
so gross. So gross. It's a 3/1 zombie warrior for 2 and a black. It's been around for a while, but it's just a gross looking card. Can they change the art, please? When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. You don't care because you're sacrificing stuff. It's going to help you, and then it's just going to you're going to make them get rid of something.
Yeah, death triggers are okay for you.
Gross.
Go for the Throat for 2. Is just destroy target non-artifact creature. That's a pretty good like basically destroy target creature for 2 at
Yeah,
instant speed. That's pretty good.
that's a nice murder,
Yeah,
really.
cheaper.
Yeah. Aether Spouts for 3 and 2 blue. It's an instant. I think that's a shark in that. Is there a shark fin in there? It kind of
There
looks
is
like a shark.
something in there. Yeah. Well, there's a human, and it
Yeah,
looks like the tail of a
like
shark.
a
Yeah.
shark typhoon. Anyway, for an attacking creature, its owner put for each attacking creature. Sorry, for each attacking creature, its owner puts it in the top or bottom on the top or bottom of their library. Whoosh. Get rid of all their stuff. I love
That's
it.
what blue does for removal.
Whoosh.
Suddenly it's all, and they choose whether it's on the top or the bottom. So here's another gross, disgusting looking card. Siphon Flesh for 4 and a black is a sorcery. Each other player sacrifices a creature. You create a 2/2 black zombie creature token for each creature sacrificed this way. So they lose something, you gain something, and have some more zombies.
Ugh. Ugh. Feed the Swarm for 1 and a black. It is a lovely little sorcery that says destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that opponent or that permanent's mana value. Not too bad, but it gets rid of an enchantment that's really pesky. It's generally what you use it for, often.
And Zombie Apocalypse for 3 and 3 pips of black. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Then destroy all humans. So remember we were talking, well, maybe you haven't watched our other video, but these two decks are built to hate each other. These two new decks. One is like killing all zombies, the other is killing all humans. So they're meant to be pitted against each other if you buy them, I think.
Never ends, yeah. Dread Summons for X and 2 black. It is a little sorcery that says each player mills X cards. For each creature card put into a graveyard this way, you create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That could be bad.
Could be another X mana cost, right? Ruthless Deathfang, 4 and blue and a black, is a 4/4 flyer, so 6 mana cost for 4/4. It has flying, and whenever you sacrifice a creature, target opponent sacrifices a creature. So remember we were talking about having some zombies on the battlefield that maybe you don't care about or that you can sacrifice. Your little zombies with decay are going to sacrifice them at the end of the turn. So every time you have to sacrifice that zombie at the end of turn, now this dude is going to make them sacrifice something. So that suddenly that decay becomes very valuable.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Dark Salvation. So that's an XX and a black sorcery. The target player creates X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, then up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each zombie that player controls. So there's where having them sitting there doing nothing except counting towards your whole zombie count is going to be a big deal here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Curse of Unbinding is enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. You put that card onto the battlefield under your control, and that player puts the rest of the cards revealed into their graveyard. So they're milling, and once they hit a creature, you get to keep it, and then they get to pitch everything else. Gross.
Mean.
No wonder it costs 7.
Yeah. Ravenous Rot Belly. This kind of yucky looking zombie horror. A 4/5 for 4 and a black. It is when it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice up to 3 zombies. When you sacrifice 1 or more zombies this way, each opponent sacrifices that many creatures. And yet another way to get rid of stuff of theirs. And you don't care about your stuff dying because you're going to benefit from it. Oh.
Can we just go back to Curse of Unbinding for a second, just as a little aside? This is why Shauna and I often don't win Commander, because we would hate playing this against somebody. I would keep this in my hand. because I would feel so bad about playing it on somebody because that's every single upkeep that's going to happen to them after that. Oh my god,
Yeah.
so mean. Anyways, on to card draw and tutor. This deck actually has a decent amount of card draw and tutors in it, or scrying. Formula says around 13. This deck has about 10, which is right on par. Forgotten Creature Creation is the first one for
Oh.
3 and a blue. It's a 3/3 with Skulk, which means it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So anything that's 4/4 and up can't block it. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. And if you do, you get to draw that many cards. So you're just going to keep cycling through. If you don't like what you have, you can get a new hand and you can just sit there with that on the battlefield so that you keep that ability instead of swinging with it if you want.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the ever faithful Midnight Reaper Zombie Knight 3/2 for 3. That whenever a non-token creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to you, but you draw a card. So that has been such a good card over the past couple of years.
Okay, now this one is going to be an iffy one because you got to be careful if you
It's
have a bunch.
non-tokens.
Oh, it's non-tokens. Okay, thank you.
Non-tokens. You're okay.
I was like, what if your decay dudes die? Then you're going to have to.
It's okay. Non-token.
That would suck.
That's
Issa and Jareth. This is a great one. This is in the new what Magic universe video game that they created, as well as a lot of good zombie decks out there, including I think Shauna has one for 2 and a blue and a black. It's a 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to mill 4 cards. Because during each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature spell from your graveyard. So it doesn't matter if they hit the graveyard, you can just cast them again.
Done that many times with these 2. Then we have Distant Melody for 3 and a blue. Looks like some little fairies that Leslie loves. Choose a creature type. Draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. What? How many zombies do you have?
Una.
How many cards you're gonna get?
Undead Augur for 2, and it's a little 2/2. And when it or another zombie you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Now, this is one that you have to be worried about because if another zombie dies, you're going to lose life. And so if you lose 20 zombies in 1 turn, you're going to lose 20 life and draw 20 cards. So
be careful.
Be careful.
Yeah. Corpse Augur for 3 and a black, a 4/2. When it dies, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of creature cards in target player's graveyard. So pick the one with the most.
Spark Reaper for 2 and a. I love that where the spark stuff is coming out for 2 and a black. It's a 2/3. You can pay 3 and sacrifice a creature or planeswalker to gain 1 life and draw a card. So that would be a good example of your decay dude. You swung with him and you have to sacrifice him at the end of the turn anyway. So you might as well sacrifice him before that and gain a life and draw a card from him.
Nice. Eloise Nephalia Sleuth. This is a new card, I believe. 4/4 for 3 and a black and a blue. Legendary Human Rogue. Looks pretty cool. So it could be your commander if you want it as well. Whenever another creature you control dies, investigate. And so investigate is where you create a colorless clue artifact that you can sacrifice and pay 2 to draw a card. So it's a really good card draw engine that's back from the previous, I think it's from the previous Innistrad days. And whenever you sacrifice a token, so that counts as a token, or your little decays dudes counts as a token, you get to surveil one. And surveil means you get to look at the top card of your library and decide whether you want to keep it on the top or put it in your graveyard.
Which again, if you have geese out, it doesn't matter if there's zombies in your graveyard because Drown in Dreams for X and 2 and a blue is an instant. Choose one if you control your commander. As you cast the spell, you may choose both. So you're either going to draw X cards or you're going to have target player mill twice X cards.
Scary.
A little bit of draw and removal there.
Yeah. Hordewing Scab. It's a 3/3 flyer for 4 and a blue. that has obviously it's flying, but other zombies you control have flying as well, which could be absolutely insane if you have a board full of zombies. They're suddenly flying. And whenever one or more zombies you control deal combat damage to one or more of your opponents, you may draw cards equal to the number of opponents dealt damage this way. If you do, discard that many cards. So a little bit of going through your hand there, but you don't have to do it. You can not do it if you want.
Mm-hmm. So our next section is our high impact cards. It's the section that everybody loves because it has all the really, really cool cards in it. Of course, we've seen a few already in our removal section, but there are 14 more in this section. Our formula calls for 12, so we're right on par there. The first one is Havenghoul Runebinder for 2 and 2 blue. It's a 2/2. That allows you to pay 3 and tap it to exile a creature card from your graveyard. And you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, then put a 1/1 counter on each zombie creature you control. So you can exile some zombies you don't need and get a little black zombie and some counters.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Then there's this cool card called Shadowkin. It's a 2/2 for 3 and a blue. This art is so beautiful. It looks like a picture, a photograph almost. It's really, really nice. Shapeshifter, so it counts as a zombie. Has flash, and at the beginning of your upkeep, each player mills 3 cards. You may exile a creature card from among the cards milled this way. If you do, Shadowkin becomes a copy of that card, except it has this ability. So you mill yourself one of your big flying zombie dudes, or you mill one of their dragons or something. This little Shadowkin gets to become that card.
Mm-hmm. Quick clarification. Yes. Changeling is all creature type. Shapeshifter is just shift into.
Is not. Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry.
But that's okay because it's going to become a zombie because you're going to make it into something that's in your graveyard.
Yes. So. It's going to be something crazy.
Yeah. Stitcher Giraffe for 3 and 2 blue. It's a 3/4 that allows you to pay 3 and tap it, and then each player mills 3 cards, including yourself. You exile up to 2 creature cards put into graveyards this way. So not all of the cards in the graveyard, just the ones that were put there with that tap. And then you create an XX blue zombie creature token where X is the total power of cards exiled this way. So you're just going to pick the 3 with them or 2 with the highest power and create a nice big beefy zombie.
Man. That's a card I've always wanted to get, and now it's there. Sweet. Yeah. One of my favorite vampire cards, Butcher of Malachor, 5/4 for 5 and 2 black. It's a flying vampire warrior that says whenever Butcher of Malachor or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature.
Yeah.
It's just not very nice.
Well, it just takes advantage of those decay zombies, right?
Yeah.
Endless Ranks of the Dead for 2 and 2 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, create an X/2/2 zombie creature tokens where X is half the number of zombies you control rounded down. So you're just going to keep getting more and more zombies each turn. This is going to be higher and it's just going to be hopefully overwhelming really quickly.
Especially if you play this card too. Army of the Damned for 5 and 3 black. It is a sorcery that says create 13 tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. It is a sorcery and they are tapped, so you have to wait till the next turn to swing with all of them, but they're going to be flying or death touch or menace or something crazy. And you got 13 2/2s all of a sudden.
The flavor text. Sometimes death comes knocking. Sometimes it tears down the walls.
Indeed it does.
Diregraph.
You get to do it again. Dude.
Again, it's crazy. Diregraph Captain for 1 and a blue and a black has death touch, and other zombies you control get +1/+1. And when another zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. So this is where you have some high impact stuff that's going to take advantage of those things dying. Anything you can have in this deck that takes advantage of your stuff dying is going to do good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And plus they buffed up the zombies. Oh my gosh. Lord of the Cursed, a 2/3. It's again another zombie buff thing. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. And you can pay 1 in the black, and tap the Lord of the Accursed. So he's just going to stand there and do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all zombies gain menace until end of turn. Can you imagine? Just think about this. It's so crazy.
Well,
So
think
crazy.
about this one next. This
Yeah.
is my favorite thing to do. Eternal Skylord for 4 and a blue. It's a 3/3.
Yeah.
When it enters the battlefield, you get to amass, which gets you a little army that's got a little
A
zombie
zombie. Yep.
2/2 basically. But zombie tokens you control have flying. So not the ones, not your regular zombies, just the tokens. But you're gonna have lots of tokens,
13 of them.
hopefully. And they're going to be buffed up, and now they're going to have flying.
Yep.
What else are they going to
And
have?
they're going to also have, with the Death Baron, they're going to have, for 1 in the black, 2 blacks, so 2/2 skeletons and other zombies you control get +1/+1. And a Death Touch. Oh my God. Scary. So
And as
scary.
if this deck wasn't crazy enough, we have Diregraph Colossus for 2 and a black for 2/2. Enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each zombie card in your graveyard. And whenever you cast a zombie spell, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So you're just going to keep churning them out.
Yeah. Eater of Hope. It's a demon for 5 and 2 black, a 6/4 demon that has flying, obviously. You can pay 1 and sacrifice another creature and regenerate Eater of Hope. You've got plenty of zombies laying around that you can do that with. Or you can pay 2 in a black and sacrifice 2 other creatures and destroy a target creature.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing is just going to be doing lots of work for you overall for the whole game. It's just
yeah, you'll notice that a lot of our high impact cards are also could fit in the removal section as well. So empty the laboratory. This one looks really scary. It's another X mana cost spell, X and 2 blue. Sacrifice X zombies, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a number of zombie cards equal to the number of zombies sacrificed this way. Put those cards onto the battlefield and the rest at the bottom of your library in random order. So sacrifice all those tokens and put actual zombies onto the battlefield that are in your deck that then will get you more zombies.
oh my gosh, yeah. I was just thinking about how that's Prowling Geist Catcher for 3 and a black. I think this is a new card. It's got really, really cool art. 2 and a 4. It's a human rogue, so not a zombie. But whenever you sacrifice another creature, you exile it. If that creature was a token, which a lot of them are in this case, put a 1/1 counter on the little Prowling Geist Catcher. And when he leaves the battlefield, return each card exiled with it to the battlefield under your control. So even if it's a non-token creature, you're going to bring those back anyways. So it's just it's so many upsides of this guy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So other cards on theme, win conditions, specialty cards, all of those things that bring lots of synergy. Not necessarily a high impact, which could be debatable. But our formula calls for 10. We feel this deck has 15. So this deck is very much a synergy heavy deck rather than a fit the formula deck. And that's good. The Rogues deck that just came out not that long ago was very much like that, and it's really powerful as well, right? So the first one that we have in this section is Liliana, Death Majesty, which people might think should be in the other section. But 3 and 2 black for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. His +1 is to create a 2/2 zombie and then mill 2 cards. -3 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other creature types. And -7 is destroy all non-zombie creatures. So lots of potential here. Definitely a high impact card, but hard to keep on the battlefield. And because you will either have to, in order to get anything out of her, -3 her right away, which puts her in precarious position. Your first one is just kind of like a +1 that gets some stuff into your graveyard. It was situational high impact, which is why we put it here.
Cemetery Reaper for 1 and 2 black. It's a 2/2, and other zombies you control get +1/+1. So that's pretty impactful. But you've got 2 and a black and have to tap this and exile target creature card from a graveyard and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So it's one of those debatable things that
Mhm.
it could be in either place, really.
Yeah, if it works really well, great, but it might not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grave Spawn Sovereign for 4 and 2 black is a 3/3, and you get to put 5 untapped zombies you control, or sorry, tap 5 untapped zombies you control, and put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So it's at graveyard, it doesn't have to be yours. It comes straight out of the graveyard, but you may not have 5 untapped zombies to use. So again, a little bit situational, but if you have a bunch of those decay dudes on
Hmm.
the battlefield, this is what you could save them for because you can't block with them anyway. So you can
Hmm.
tap and use them for this.
Yeah. Open the Graves for 3 and 2 black. It's an enchantment that whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a zombie creature token. It's pretty standard. People have
Mm-hmm.
had that one in the graveyard shenanigans decks
Yeah,
for sure.
really good synergy.
Hmm.
Liliana's Mastery for 3 and 2 black is an enchantment. Zombies you control get +1/+1, and when it enters the battlefield, you create 2 black zombie creature tokens. So
Hmm.
good synergy. All your zombies get +1/+1, and it comes with a couple zombies, so that's good.
Yeah. We have Dreadhorde Invasion for 1 and a black. It's in a little enchantment, and I really like this card because it's so useful. Because board wipes happen, and you've still got a way to generate some creatures, or you have a sacrificial lamb here that you can use. It's just you're always going to have a creature with this guy. So beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. So you make a zombie army token. If you already have one out there, then you just add a counter to it. So whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. So if your other zombie tokens are above 6 as well, this also helps them get lifelink. So it's a way for you to keep alive, even though you're getting pinged with this thing. It's just, yeah, it can really do a lot of work for you,
Mm-hmm.
but it isn't
Mm-hmm.
high impact because it's, you know,
Well, you could lose all your
you
token
could lose all your
zombies
life.
or need them or not want, right?
Yeah,
Like, so
exactly.
again, a lot of these are high impact, but we can't put everything in high impact, you guys,
Hmm.
okay? Just can't. Liliana's Devotee for 2 and a black is a 2/3. Zombies you control get +1/+0 at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So, it doesn't say how many times you can do that. You can do that as many times as you want if you have the mana for it as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Then we have Gleaming Overseer, which is a 1/4 for 1, a blue and a black. It's another one of these War the Spark zombie wizards. When it enters the battlefield, you amass 1, so you make that zombie army token. And those zombie tokens you have menace, hexproof, and menace. I forgot about the
Mm-hmm.
hexproof. I always forget about the hexproof piece. Can't touch this. Do do do
Do
do.
do 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 do. Hour of Eternity. XX blue blue blue. Pew pew pew. Anyway, it's a sorcery. Exile X target creature cards from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's also a 4/4 black zombie. So it has all the abilities of the card, but its power and toughness is a 4/4 and it's a black zombie as far as creature types. Um, XX means whatever you pay for X, you divide that by 2, basically,
Yeah,
because
basically.
there's 2 X's.
So you have to have it twice.
Yeah.
All right. Then we have Cleaver Scab, which is a really gross looking card. For 3 and a blue, it's a 2/4 zombie horror. Not surprising. You could pay 3 and tap this and sacrifice another zombie and create 2 tokens that are copies of the sacrificed creature. Could be a great way of multiplying your zombies. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird.
Could be. Crowded Crypt. This is a little mana artifact. You can tap for black. And whenever a creature you control dies, put a corpse counter on it. And you can pay 4 and 2 black and tap it to sacrifice it and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with decay for each corpse counter on Crowded Crypt. So another way to get zombies. It has a little bit of mana and it's going to do some fun synergy things.
Mm-hmm. Here's another Curse of the Restless Dead for 2 and a black. It is an aura that you put on a player. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under the enchanted player's control, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So there's a place where you can make a whole bunch of those Decayed zombie tokens, especially if someone is playing a lands matter deck and playing 2 or 3
Mm-hmm.
lands a turn.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And
Sorry.
everyone needs a ghouls night out from time to time. 3 and 2 black for a sorcery. For each player, choose a creature card in that player's graveyard and put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. They're black zombies in addition to their other colors and types, and they gain decay. So you're going to have them on the battlefield, get all of their abilities from them if they want, and it's each player, so that includes your graveyard. Just bring basically something back for everybody's graveyard, and if you want, you can just swing really hard with them, and they sacrifice at the end of that.
Very nice. Gorex the Tomb Shell, which is a big zombie turtle, a 4/4 for 6 and 2 black. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard, and then this spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. It has Death Touch, a little 4/4 Death Touch turtle, and whenever it attacks or dies, choose a card at random that it was exiled with Gorex, and you put that card into its owner's hand. Whew.
Whew.
Get to
Lots
have
of
a
good
breath.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? It's just crazy. And then our last one in this section is Tomb Tyrant. Other zombies you control get +1/+1, and you can pay 3 and tap it to sacrifice a creature and return a zombie creature card at random from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only during your turn, and only if there is at least 3 zombie creatures in your graveyard. So a little situational for getting the benefit of that, which it should be because that's a crazy thing to have happen. So I like that there's lots of conditions, but that's why we put it kind of in the other cards on theme.
And then this, as far as lands go, we can tell you that there are 40 lands in this deck. Understandably, since it doesn't have much ramp in it. The formula calls for about 34, so decide what you want to do there. There's 13 non-basic lands of the usual cheaper commander variety, as well as 12 islands and 15 swamps, because it's definitely half black stuff. So you'll want to make sure you have lots of black sources of mana there. And then we're going to get into the tweak section there.
Tweaks are always super fun, and so thank you for keeping with us this long. So in our tweak section, we like to typically suggest stuff that isn't really expensive for you to tweak with. Also to keep your deck set a little bit lower power. Our first suggestion is not. It's a little bit degenerate. So if you put this in this deck, people will target you right away, and so just be okay with that if they target you.
Yes.
So the Scarab God is our first tweak suggestion. It is a 5 mana cost 5/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. You're going to have a whole lot of zombies on the battlefield, and they're just going to lose life at the beginning of the turn, which allows you to just sit back and relax and not do anything if that's your play style, and you don't have to attack. You can also pay 2 and a blue and a black, and exile target creature card from a graveyard to create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a zombie as well, which again fits with a lot of the synergy cards that we saw in this deck already. And when it dies, you get to return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step, so it's pretty much ridiculous to get rid of. I've seen people play zombie decks with this as their commander, and it's very frustrating. So if you're going for a competitive deck, you can put that in, but I would not put it in if you want to keep it cash.
Yeah. Similarly. Thank you. Liliana Dreadhorde General. It's not a cheap card for good reason. She is a 6 loyalty planeswalker for 4 and 2 black. Very strong. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card. This is going to happen a lot. You're going to have lots of cards in your hand. And her +1 is creating a blue zombie creature token. Her -4 is each player sacrifices 2 creatures. You don't care. And her -9 is really stupid. So each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest.
But not you.
Not you. So
It's like an
even the
Ingrid's wake.
lands.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Tough
kind
to
of
deal
the
with.
game winner thing. So we wanted to put those in because you kind of have to put those in in this deck for sure.
Yeah. So Asarak the Archlich is a new card from Forgotten Realms. He's from the Tomb of Annihilation, which is a super fun adventure if you haven't played it. For 2 and a black, he's a 5/5, so he's super cheap as a 5/5. And when it enters the battlefield, if you haven't completed Tomb of Annihilation, then you return him to his owner's hand, so you can just keep playing him and go through Tomb of Annihilation. And then when you can finally complete Tomb of Annihilation, and then when he attacks for each opponent, you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token unless that player sacrifices a creature. So he's going to take a little bit to get out, but he works really well with this deck, and you get to go dungeoning.
Which can be really helpful. Liliana, Untouched by Death, is another Liliana Planeswalker. This one's not quite as powerful as the other one, but still really useful for 4, 2 and a black, or 2 and 2 black. It's a 4 loyalty Planeswalker that says +1. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie card, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Stay alive. And then -2 is target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. Nice. And then -3 is you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. So who cares if they're in your graveyard? Just cast them from there. Sweet.
The other thing that we forgot to say, I think, in our other video, so if you haven't seen that one, or if you were watching that one earlier and didn't hear this, we're sorry. But when you tweak, before you tweak any of these things, before you put any of this in the deck, please play it like 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times first to see what it is that you like that it does. This deck doesn't need a lot of tweaks as is. So our tweaks are based on just kind of like some of the synergies. Anyway, moving along. Gravecrawler. This is for a little bit more aggro in this deck for 2/1. It's a 2/1 for 1. You can't block with it, so you're just going to keep swinging. And it allows you to just play it from its graveyard, so it's just going to keep coming back, which can take advantage of some of those zombie enter the battlefield effects or things like that. So.
And I don't think it's a cheap card, and neither is Relentless Death. Relentless Dead, but you know, it's a 2/2 for 2, and it has Menace. When it dies, you may pay a swamp, and if you do, return it to its owner's hand. When the Relentless Dead dies, you may pay X. If you do, return another target zombie creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's relentless.
Yeah. So Skull Clamp is a fun one. As you might remember, there was a few things that take advantage of your things dying or sacrificing your creatures. And so this is a good way for some of those smaller creatures to actually die. Now this gives it +2 -1. So it's not going to kill those zombies outright because they're 2/2s. But it makes them a little bit easier to kill. And whenever the creature dies, you get to draw 2 cards, which is the key with this one because you get that card draw for your things dying anyway. And so that's a really beneficial thing in this deck because you want your stuff to die anyway.
Definitely. We needed more card draw, we were thinking. So,
yeah.
Then this one, because it's a zombie deck and it's just a great, lots of black stuff is in here. So Grey Merchant of Asphodel, 3 and a black, 2 black is it's Gary, as many people call him. A zombie, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is equal to your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So yeah, it's pretty good.
And I love that it's each opponent and then you gain life.
Yeah.
All of that. So you have 3 opponents and they each lose 10 life, you gain 30 and they lost 10 each, which is great. Timoret's Call the Dead for 2 and a black. This is a saga, so when you play it, it's going to be on number 1, which is put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then put then you may exile a creature card or enchantment card from your graveyard. If you do, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. We don't love it when you have to exile stuff from your graveyard. You'd rather play them back, but there's something sometimes in there that you're like, yeah, I don't really need that at this time. So turn 1 and turn 1 and turn 2 on this are going to both happen that way. Turn 3, you gain X life and scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. That's the key with this one. And you want to get it to number 3 so you can get that scry in and you can gain some life.
Set up the next 6 turns nicely. Would be kind of cool too. The Lich Lord of Unks. For 1, a blue and a black. It's a 2/2 zombie wizard that you can pay a blue and a black and tap it and put a 1/1 blue-black zombie wizard creature token into play. Or you can pay 2 blue and 2 black, and target player loses X life and puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of zombies you control. That could be really bad.
Yep. And Liliana Standard Bearer. Everyone loves a good Liliana. For 2 and a black is a flash zombie knight for that's a 3/1, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. So you're going to play that maybe on your end step. You're going to want to think of the timing of this after combat when things have died.
We have Grave Titan, a 6/6 for 6, basically 4 and 2 black. It's a 6/6 Death Toucher. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Death in form and function. Is just the perfect flavor on that one.
And we just couldn't stop coming up with suggestions for this deck. So Ayara, the first of Locthwain from Throne of Eldraine. She's got 3 black pips. But when another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Creating all those zombie tokens on a regular basis, like this is, I think, maybe almost a must include in this deck. Oh, and then you can sacrifice a black creature to draw a card. So she's got card draw on her as well.
Yeah, a lot. This was a really good combo with that that little thing that makes the zombie armies. I sacrifice them all the time to
the invasion one,
and then every time they come in, the Dreadhorde invasion, every time they come in, you lose life, but it doesn't matter. You gain the life when it comes in. So good combination there. Then the last tweak we have for you is from Kaldheim, a Rise of the Dread Marn, 2 and a black instant, where you get to create X 2/2 black zombie berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. But you can make it even cheaper by foretelling it. So basically you pay 2 for it to go off into the foretell, and then you pay 1 for it when you need it. And
this is one that you're essentially going to wait. We thought it would be good to wait for the board wipe, the inevitable board wipe, that when you get a giant army of zombies, somebody is going to say, okay, we need to deal with this. And then if this is in the foretell zone, then you can just pay for it and get all your zombies back, or at least your number of non-token zombie creatures back.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, damn it, Leslie.
That's right.
Oh, so that is it for this time. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We would love to hear what tweaks that you have. So feel free to comment down below or tell us kind of what you think about this deck if you're excited to play it. We're available on YouTube and Twitch, so check us out there. Feel free to connect on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime,
tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. Thanks,
bye, guys.